welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a new video. I'm sorry about the inconsistency of my videos recently, but I've just been so busy with work with my other channel, and I know that I'm going to get a little bit of time off around Christmas, which, I mean, you know how busy that becomes anyway, but I'm hoping to be able to film some more videos because I've been watching a lot of movies this month. And so today we are finally talking about the series on Sci-Fi that revamped something that I have not always really been into as a horror fan, which is Chucky. Originally, the movie was Child's Play in the 80s, and now we have Chucky, which has been actually picked up for a season 2, which I'm very excited about. I finally finished the Chucky season finale, and boy, it was insane. We are going to talk non-spoilers, and then I might do a little bit of spoiler talk later, but first I hope that you guys appreciate my outfit here. And this is the closest Chucky outfit I could give myself. I have paint on my hand, which could be mistaken for blood, but I assure you it is just paint. My cat may be joining us for our discussion at times, even though it's a well-known fact that Chucky does not like cats, so we'll be careful with that one. But Chucky currently sits at a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's the critic score, an 87% audience score. And usually I don't mention the scores, but I just found that to be perplexing. And obviously when I heard there was going to be a new Chucky series, my expectations were not high at all. So a little bit of background. A few months ago, I finally rewatched Child's Play for the first time in a long time, and I have to say that first one was a pretty good movie and I thoroughly enjoyed it. However, I've never been one to relish in any of the sequels, and I never really enjoyed Chucky as a character up until now. So now in the new Child's Play series, there is a lot of homage and tribute paid to the original. We are following kind of like the storyline of the original, so it's not its own reboot or remake in the sense that Child's Play 2019 was. Let's go ahead and read the full description here on Rotten Tomatoes. Before Annabelle of the Conjuring movie series, there was another terrifying doll. After a vintage Chucky doll turns up at a suburban yard sale, an idyllic American town is thrown into chaos as a series of horrifying murders begins to expose the town's hypocrisies and secrets. Meanwhile, the arrival of enemies and allies from Chucky's past threatens to expose the truth behind the killings as well as the demon doll's untold origins, as a seemingly ordinary child who somehow became this notorious monster. Again, I did not have high expectations for this series, so it kind of blew my mind and I ended up loving it, and now I even want my very own good guy doll. Unfortunately, I've done some research and the good guy doll that I want is about $600 to $700, so that's not happening anytime soon. So I want to talk about some of the show's strengths. I really enjoyed the pacing at most parts. The first episode felt very fast, but I kind of realized further into the season why, and that's just because of how much happens in this one season. But I really enjoy the pacing throughout because we get to know the characters, and there's some character arcs that happen with our main characters who are actually middle schoolers. So this is going back to the original. Chucky is after kids, or using the kids as kind of like his own puppet, if you will. And I like that they kept that part of the story alive in this new series. So we follow these like teenagers, really young teenagers, throughout this journey of all of the havoc that Chucky wreaks throughout their town. I actually like that they bumped up the age a little bit and we're not focused on very young kids, because the kids in this are old enough to the point where they can try and work through what's going on and figure out solutions. Kind of like, it reminds me a lot of It, where there's the group of kids that are able to band together and figure things out. I mean, they're older than like the 6-year-old in the original Chucky, and the story ends up being more about the mom in that story. But here we really get to follow the kids' storylines and see everything from their point of view. Now, another thing that was awesome about this show were the kills. I thought that the kills were great. I laughed throughout parts of this show sadistically because of the way everything was set up and the way that Chucky acts. I absolutely love the character, the design, the effects of Chucky. He looks absolutely great and he sounds great. It's just, this is like the best version of Chucky that I've seen, and it's really exciting to be able to see something that started as an 80s horror where they were more limited on effects. I mean, it was well done then too, but they were more limited on what they could have Chucky do back then, and now they're able to really just take it to the extremes. So that was awesome. I did end up caring about the characters, so I think there was success in that as well. And I like the story. Now, sometimes the story can be a little bit of a negative for me because there's so much going on, but that's kind of like a thing that happens with shows in general, is there are separate plot lines and more plot lines develop throughout the show. So we're not just focused on the group of middle schoolers anymore, but there's other people we're focused on too. And with all these separate plot lines, it becomes hard sometimes to, I mean, it never becomes convoluted, but just shows in general are hard for me to follow because of this. I think this show did well in stitching everything together, and I love the attention to detail and the craft that was, I mean, just the precise care that was put into this to make sure that it is standing up to the original and not just trying to do something totally different. Like, they're really trying to play off the original story and respect the original story and just add to that. And so we see a lot of recurring characters from the original. Again, I'm talking spoiler free, so I don't want to go in depth about the story, but there is a lot of attention to detail, even down to the fact that Chucky doesn't seem to like cats for whatever reason. Chucky has never liked cats, which again, maybe it's not the best idea to bring a good guy doll in here with my cat and all, but. So the one thing I will say is the way that the first season ended leaves room for so much chaos to happen in season 2 that I hope that they still stick to the characters that we care about and don't make this too wide scale to the point where we just don't really care what happens and it becomes just this huge disaster sequence, which I can feel is happening and brewing by the end of season 1. I know they want to expand what Chucky is capable of and his whole entourage at that point. But I guess without spoiling anything, I don't want season 2 to become too like spread out, and I like that season 1 focuses on these characters' relationships, developments, and their teamwork sticking together and trying to figure out how to defeat Chucky. That was my cat opening the door, not Chucky, don't worry. I'm very quickly running out of time here and I want to talk spoilers for a few minutes, so I'm just going to end the spoiler-free portion here and say that overall I really enjoyed this series. After watching the new I Know What You Did Last Summer, this one was a pleasant surprise and I actually really liked it, and now I'm very much into the character of Chucky, and he's never been a favorite of mine before, but I really like this new Chucky, and I love that they have revived the series with good intention, not just, it doesn't just feel like they're trying to make money off of it, like some revivals of series have done lately. I mean, we all know we're in the era of reviving, and that's what's trendy right now, is to revive an original from, you know, a classic horror from 70s, 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, and kind of pay tribute to that rather than trying to just like remake it like a lot of the remakes of the early 2000s did, where they would just remake it and add more blood and gore and stuff, and that's not really what's trending right now. So I am happy to say that this was another successful revival slash reboot of an old franchise, and I'm so excited to see what they do with it in the future. I probably sound really excited and hyper in this video, but I'm just excited to be filming for my channel, which I haven't done in so long, and hopefully I'll have time to edit maybe tonight or tomorrow night and be able to put out this video relatively soon, because the season finale already came out last week and I don't want this video to come out like in another week because I feel like my videos are already sometimes late as it is. And so if you have not finished the series yet, I would advise you to click off now, because I'm going to talk a couple of spoilers really quick. I only have about 5 minutes, so it's not going to be very in-depth, but there are some things I would like to discuss relative to the show and how I felt like it was successful. So one thing I really enjoyed was the army of Chuckies and the idea that the original serial killer's soul had kind of like, you know, gone into different areas. So we have different Chucky dolls that are being possessed, different good guy dolls that are being possessed. But I very much liked how there were multiple Chuckies, and by the end there's this whole army because I think an innocent person had killed another person, and that was the way that they were able to create this whole army of Chuckies. I mean, it was Junior, he killed his dad and then he was killed also. It was just a whole disaster, but I love the concept of the army of Chuckies and how the good guy dolls were all being taken in the truck at the end. That was just awesome. We also get a little peek at the Bride of Chucky in doll form, which was really cool. I wasn't sure that we were actually going to get her in doll form in this series, so I'm hoping season 2 has a lot more of that. I won't lie, I was a little bit worried at the beginning of the series when we started off very similar to how the 2019 remake starts off, with this boy. He's kind of like in a tough environment in his home growing up, and he's going through just some rough stuff. I did enjoy the romance between Jake and Devin as well. It wasn't like something that interfered with the plot too much like sometimes character romances do. This one just fit in with everything else, and it wasn't like something that overtook other plot points, if that makes sense. And I really like the character arc of Lexi as well, and her whole family is just hilarious to watch. But Lexi's character really annoyed me at first, and the one thing about that is she did have quite the character arc throughout this. I guess I cannot complain because they are middle schoolers, so like the behavior can be explained by that as well. I mean, nothing's worse than when you have horror movies with like people in their early to mid to even late 20s acting the same way as characters that are like, you know, middle schoolers, like in this show. So these characters actually were middle schoolers, and you can't really blame them for all of the dramas that they go through, especially at the beginning of the series before everybody knows about Chucky and before he's taken over. There's a lot of focus on those characters. So in a way, this does remind me of It Chapter 1, because we focus so much on these relationships and not just Chucky. And Chucky is, you know, like they're not just disposable characters to serve the movie, to serve as victims for Chucky to terrorize, but rather they are working together and they actually make the story. And I think that if the series had tried too hard to focus only on Chucky and just had disposable characters, then it would probably fall into more of like a B movie feel, and it probably wouldn't have been as enjoyable. But since time was taken to put effort, I mean, what am I saying? There was the same amount of time taken to develop the characters and relationships as there was to dedicate to Chucky and his whole entourage, I guess is what I'm saying, which I think was important and made the series successful as a whole. I'm out of time, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this quick discussion of Chucky. I want to know if you have finished it yet. I hope you have if you're watching this part of the video, but please leave your thoughts on the series down below if you've finished it. Let me know what you think of it, and let me know if you would consider buying a Good Guy doll for $650. Happy December, by the way, guys. I will be making a video soon about Christmas horror, which I've been watching a lot of now that we're getting into the holiday season. And I am so sorry again for my inconsistent posting schedule, but hopefully I will get to creating some more videos soon. And thanks to those of you that are subscribing and supporting. I surpassed 100 subscribers, which is great considering I haven't posted very much lately and my channel is still fairly new. So thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!